The hour for convening having arrived, all members of the House will please come to the floor of the House and take their seats. All members, please report to the floor of the House. The clerk will ring the bell. All members, please come to the floor of the House. We're about to have the morning roll call. We're going to have the call of the roll. All members present will please vote green to signify their presence in the chamber, and the clerk will unlock the machines. Representative Williams. Representative Williams. That would not be a good thing. Have all members voted? No. Have all members now voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machines. We will have our doorkeepers will please close the doors and keep them closed. We will have scripture reading and prayer by the chaplain, after which we will pledge allegiance to the flag of our country. Our chaplain this morning will be introduced by the lady from the 126th House District, Representative Gloria Frazier. Representative Frazier.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. I am honored this morning to have one of the great pastors from Augusta, Georgia, Reverend Larry Fryer. And it is also an honor to be able to come behind Representative Battle this morning. The Reverend Larry Fryer is a native of Macon, Georgia. He later moved to Augusta to attend and to graduate from Payne College with a degree in history and secondary education. He is also the pastor of Hudson Memorial CME Church. His community leadership and involvement is unmeasured. He has led major efforts for peace and nonviolence, worked with congressmen, U.S. senators, and state representatives, and other leaders. Reverend Fryer is responsible in part for raising $115 million for the Richmond County school system, $14.5 million for mortgage borrowers, and have given thousands to school incentive programs. He has been the first judge, Judge Not program in the U.S., where the 15 judges work as mentors in the Richmond County school system. He presented to the city and Richmond County a program to help ex-felons and non-repeat offenders to re-enter society and become positive, productive citizens. He has worked with the Reverend Jesse Jackson, the Reverend Al Sharpton, the late legendary James Brown, Governor Deal, and Sonny Perdue, and all superintendents of schools in this great state. And he has done programs that raises the consciousness of the people toward the education of our parents. Reverend Fryer is an employee of the Richmond County Board of Education, where he works as a school facilitator. He is a community leader and a great pastor. And at this time, I would like to welcome to the podium for our message, Reverend Larry Fryer.
Come on, y'all can do better than that. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, the Honorable and the beautiful Representative Gloria Frazier. I'm delighted to be here, this great General Assembly today. It is a pleasure to stand before you to speak to you for a few moments. I'm also delighted to have with me my assistant, Reverend Cassetta Hurd, to my right, and we are just so delighted to share with you on this day, and all of you in your respective places. I'm one of those pastors, because you are assembly persons doesn't mean that you can't respond. Amen, somebody. So I've been asked to come for this moment in time. Again, thank you. We're coming out of the book of Luke. I'm coming from the Leadership Maxwell Bible with chapter 4, verse 18. And it reads thusly: "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captive, and recovery of sight to the blind, to set at liberty those who are oppressed, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord." We want to come from this text, from this emphasis: give me liberty. Give me liberty. This is the central mission of the Bible. And you are called as servants to fulfill God's plan of liberation for his people. We remember the words of Dr. King, who spoke about the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and this promissory note that we would have, that we should follow in order to carry out the needs of the people of God. We make too many promises with little or no results. Why? It takes unity, it takes love, it takes vision. And the only way the state of Georgia will succeed is that we all come together, put aside our personal and political agendas, and work for the great people of this state. We are called to do that. That's what we all are called to do as leaders in our community. While we make promises, people are dying in our communities. Murder is rampant. Robberies are everywhere. Assault and burglaries. We are called to liberate God's people, because people are captive by the problems in their homes, in their churches, in their communities, in their own lives. And we are set here today because we have a job to do, and that's to make life better for those we serve. That is our duty as a people of God. We understand, in the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., as we come for celebration this year, he says, the first question which the priest and the Levite asked: "If I stop to help this man, what will happen to me?" But the Good Samaritan reversed the question and said, if I do not stop to help this man, what will happen to him? We are not to be about us. We are to be about others. Others as our job. We are called to represent, help, liberate those who are brokenhearted, those who are in captivity. That's our job. That's our mission according to the Word of God. And we must make sure that the people do not suffer. It is our job, not just you, all of us who are leaders and who are called to make life better for others. Unemployment, the Bureau of the Department of Labor states that Georgia is number 11. I tell you today, according to the Word, a house divided against itself cannot stand. The only way we're going to make it better for all of us is to be united. We must not look at those things that divide us, but those things that bring us together. It takes to have a good mind, a good heart, and courage in order to make life better. Millions of our young people are dropping out of school. I sat in a school system where our children need help. Our children are fighting each other. They are fighting us. They are dying at our feet. We have a job to do, and once we leave from here, it is the community where we ought to be. The people who elected us are not here. They are in the community. We must go back where they are. Let them know that we are here for you, and we want to make a difference where we are. I remember Dr. Martin Luther King saying these words: the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenges and controversy. If we are going to change things, we must not look for the comfort zone, to always make sure everything is easy and right. I've held the dying in my hands. I've been in places where they have had guns pointing at me. I've been told not to do certain things, but I know that if I have God on my side, and because he is on my side, I stand here today as a testimony that the Lord will take care of his own. And so if you who are called to serve, you must go and serve. It is our job to make sure that our people are liberated. Jesus came to liberate us. We too must learn the importance of liberation. Do you remember at the bottom of the Statue of Liberty, it says, "Give me your tired and your poor." We need to be sure that we take care of our tired, that we take care of our poor, that we see about those whom God has here on earth. The race is not to the swift, nor is it to the strong, but to the one that endures until the end. President Lincoln and President Obama had something in common. They knew the importance of courage, because without courage, there is no change. And if we want to see change in our state, I am a taxpayer and a voter. And I want to vote for people who are going to do something for the betterment of the people they serve. No need to be in office if we're not going to help our people. So I say to you today, thank God for you. I'm glad you are here, but our mission is to liberate those who are oppressed, those who are poor, those who are brokenhearted, those who are in captivity. It is our mission, it is our job to make it better for their lives. I remember The words from a very beautiful song. If I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living shall not be in vain. If you do not want your living to be in vain, if you want to make sure that when you stand before God, he can say, well done, thy good and faithful servant, that you can have, when you stand before him, you will know that your job was already done because you saw about the needs of the people of God. I am reminded during this time of the spiritual. I ain't going to let nobody turn me around. I'm going to keep on working. I'm going to keep on marching. I'm going to keep on doing God's will. If we say we are Christians, if we say we are believers, whomever we say we are, we have an obligation to God, and that obligation is to take care of his people. So I challenge you today as I take my seat. I have an obligation to make sure that every citizen of Georgia, from the child to the adult, are liberated from whatever keeps them down. It is our job. It is our job that if we do the will of God, he will say to you, well done, well done, well done. Give us liberty. Thank you so very much. Let us pray. Father God, we thank you. Bless us and keep us. Thank you, O God, for our coming and sharing, and all of us who are here today to make life better, to take care of those things that are for this state of Georgia, for the leadership. Bless them, O Father. We ask it in your name. And those things we have not mentioned, O God, be with us so that we would do your will. Your name we pray. Amen. May we join in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Thank you. Just stand here. Okay, thank you.
Brother Larry,
Thank you.
you came ready.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. All right.
Doorkeepers will please unlock the doors. Chair recognizes Chairman Chokas, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits.
Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Your Committee on Information and Audits has reviewed the journals of the previous legislative day and have found them to be correct.
Chairman Chokus, the chair of the Committee on Information and Audits, reports that the journal of the previous legislative day has been read and found to be correct. Is there any objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none. The journal is confirmed. The clerk will read the resolution establishing the order of business for the day.
Mr. O'Neill, the 146 moves that the following be established as the order of business during the first part of the period of unanimous consents. Introduction of bills and resolutions, first reading and reference of House bills and resolutions, second reading of bills and resolutions, report of standing committees, morning orders.
Is there any objection to the adoption of the resolution establishing the order of business for the day? The chair hears none, and the resolution is adopted. First reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
House Bill 755 by Representative Powell of the 171st to amend Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to ad valorem taxation of property so as to provide for a revised definition of forest land fair market value.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 756 by Representative Peake of the 141st to amend Code Section 48-8-3.2 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the exemption of machinery and energy used in manufacturing from state sales and use taxes.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 757 by Representative Powell of the 171st to amend Article 1, Chapter 5 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions regarding ad valorem taxation of property.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 758 by Representative Coomer of the 14th to amend Code Section 15-6-3 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the terms of court so as to change the term of court for the Superior Court of Bartow County.
Judiciary.
House Bill 759 by Representative Earhart of the 36th to amend Code Section 48-7-29.16 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the Qualified Education Tax Credit.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 760 by Representative Welch of the 110th to amend Chapter 1 of Title 28 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions regarding the General Assembly.
Judiciary.
House Bill 761 by Representative Riley of the 50th to amend Chapter 20 of Title 47 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the Public Retirement System Standards Law.
Retirement.
House Bill 762 by Representative Harrell of the 106th to amend Article 1 of Chapter 6 of Title 40 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to general provisions relative to uniform rules of the road.
Motor Vehicles.
House Bill 763 by Representatives Epps of the 144th to amend Part 2 of Article 9 of Chapter 3 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to funding, donations, property, and scholarships with respect to the Georgia Military College.
Higher Education.
House Bill 764 by Representative Maxwell of the 17th to amend Article 10, Chapter 2 of Title 47 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the Georgia State Employees Pension and Savings Plan.
Retirement.
House Bill 765 by Representative Stevens of the 164th to amend Article 5 of Chapter 13 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the excise taxes on rental motor vehicles.
Ways and Means.
House Bill 766 by Representatives Lumsden of the 12th to amend Chapter 2 of Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to elementary and secondary education.
Education.
House Bill 767 by Representative Stevens of the 164th to amend Article 2 of Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to the imposition rate computation and exemptions from state income taxation.
Ways and Means.
That completes first readings.
Second reading of bills and resolutions. The clerk will read.
HB 743 by Representative Ralston of the 7th, the bill to amend an act making and providing appropriations for the state fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2013, ending June 30th, 2014. HB 744 by Representative Ralston of the 7th, the bill to make and provide appropriations for the state fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2014, ending June 30th, 2015. HB 745 by Representative Ralston of the 7th, bill to amend an act making and providing appropriations for the state fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2013, ending July 30th, 2014. HB 746 by Representative Ralston of the 7th, bill to amend and act making and providing appropriations for state fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2013, ending June 30th, 2014. HB 747 by Representative Ralston of the 7th, bill to make and provide appropriations for state fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2014, ending June 30th, 2015. HB 748 by Representative Ralston of the 7th, the bill to make and provide appropriations for state fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2014, ending June 30th, 2015. HB 749 by Representative Duncan of the 26th, a bill relating to theft. HB 750 by Representative Fry of the 118th, a bill relating to exemptions from licensing requirements of mortgage brokers and mortgage lenders. HB 751 by Representative Harrell of the 106th, a bill relating to prohibited acts relative to the regulation of alcoholic beverages. HB 752 by Representative Dickey of the 140th, a bill to abolish the office of elected county surveyor of Crawford County. HB 753 by Representative Powell of the 32nd, a bill relating to general provisions of identifying and regulating motor vehicles. HB 754 by Representative Waits of the 60th, a bill relating to educational programs in elementary and secondary education. HR 1056 by Representative Tanner of the 9th, resolution honoring the life of Kenneth Webster Stewart III, dedicating an intersection in his memory. HR 1057 by Representative Nix of the 69th, resolution honoring the life of Mr. Ray C. Anderson, dedicating a road in his memory. Through second readers.
All right, this House will start coming to order now. House will be at order. The chair recognizes the majority leader of the House to introduce our doctor of the day, Majority Leader O'Neill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, it is a great honor for me and pleasure to introduce our doctor of the day because he's such a close personal friend of mine. He's not my doctor because he's in obstetrics, thank goodness. But Dr. Manaj Shah, yes, I do know, is board certified, as a matter of fact, in obstetrics and gynecology. He completed his postgraduate training at the Henry Ford Hospital in Detroit, Michigan. He's published several articles in the Medical Digest and various medical journals. He's also the president-elect for the Georgia Medical Association, or the Medical Association of Georgia now. He's lived in Warner Robin since 1985, so he's been in Georgia a long time. His children were raised and educated in the Houston County school system. He's very active in our community and is an avid and very talented tennis player. I tell you, don't look at his small stature and think he's easy to take on. You'll regret that. As president, too, he's a member of the Medical Association, and he's involved in the Friends of the Library and the Houston Volunteer Clinic, which was sort of a model that happened in Middle Georgia many, many years ago, which is just an unbelievable program where doctors staff for free around the clock medical services for those in need in our county, and it has fit just an incredible void there, and Dr. Shaw was one of the pioneers of that. So with no further ado, I would introduce to you Dr. Manaj Shaw, a great friend of Georgia and a wonderful, wonderful physician, and your doctor of the day.
Thank you very much. Medical Association of Georgia like to have the best medical care for the whole Georgia state, all the citizens, poor, rich, and I really appreciate your hard work. Thank you.
Let's get a picture of the speaker here.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
All right. If you have signed up for a morning order, please make your way down to the front. We're going to go on to morning orders here shortly.
ability to bring quality health care to areas of Georgia where such services have not been previously provided is unmatched by any other organization. From the northernmost point of Georgia to downtown Atlanta to our beautiful coast, patients have found a medical home and are provided the highest quality and compassionate health care by trained professionals. I want you to know that the Medicaid dollars spent for these patients in community health centers helps our state meet its budgetary requirements.
Chair recognizes Chairman Benton for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To the people in the House chamber, I come to the well to make you aware of a birthday and celebration this weekend. The birthday is January 19th of the South's greatest soldier, Robert E. Lee. He was born January 19th, 1807, the son of Henry and Ann Lee. His father had fought in the Revolution under Washington and was nicknamed Light Horse Harry. He entered West Point in 1825 and graduated second in his class. In 1831, he married Mary Custis, the daughter of George Washington Parke Custis, who was the adopted son of George Washington and grandson of Martha. Mary Custis inherited the family farm after the death of her father, which was called Arlington. In 1852, he was appointed superintendent of West Point, and during his 3 years there, he carried out many important changes. In 1859, while at Arlington on leave, he was summoned to command the U.S. troops sent to deal with John Brown's raid at Harper's Ferry. Lee was opposed to secession but felt obliged to follow his state and family. For 4 years, he fought against overwhelming odds of men and material. On May 9, 1865, he surrendered his army at Appomattox. In August of that year, he was offered and accepted the presidency of Washington College. It is now called Washington and Lee University. In October of 1870, he passed away and is buried at the university. By his achievements, he won a high place among the great generals of history. Though hampered by lack of material and political necessity, his strategy was daring always, and he never hesitated to take the gravest risk. On the field of battle, he was as energetic in attack as he was constant in defense, and his personal influence over the men whom he led was extraordinary. No student of the war between the states can fail to notice how the influence of Lee dominated the course of the struggle, and his surpassing ability was never more conspicuously shown than the last hopeless stages of the war. The personal history of Lee is lost in the history of this national crisis, but friends and foe alike acknowledge the purity of his motives, the virtue of his private life, and his earnest Christianity. My favorite quote of Lee is one I have on my office wall. Duty is the sublimest word in our language. Do your duty in all things. You cannot do more. You should never wish to do less. On Saturday, there will be a celebration in Milledgeville, the wartime capital of Georgia. There will be a parade from the old governor's mansion to the old state capitol building. Then a program will be presented inside the legislative chamber. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Chairman Lynn Smith for a morning order.
Good morning, everyone. This is a reminder for next Tuesday evening from 5 to 7 at the Commerce Club. The Cancer Treatment Centers of America has brought together some of the brightest minds in healthcare internationally. So it'll be a different, out of the ordinary kind of reception, but an opportunity for us to exchange ideas. Hope to see you there. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Representative Tom Taylor and Representative Holmes for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On Tuesday the 21st, when we come back into session, Life South Community Blood Centers will be making its annual visit to the Capitol. And Titus Mission will have a personal connection to those of us who work under the Gold Dome. Life South will honor Representative Calvin Hill, who represented District 22 until his death October 30th, 2013 of leukemia. Those fighting this disease often require blood transfusion and bone marrow transplants, as Susan is with me now, and offer hope for a cure. So in honor of Life South, we'll combine with the blood drive with the bone marrow donor drive, looking for volunteers who may save lives of others. Blood drive will be held in the Capitol Building, room 216. Blood donors must be at least 16 or 17 with parental permission. weigh a minimum of 110 pounds, and be in good health. A photo ID is also required. To join the registry of potential bone marrow donors, a volunteer must be between the ages of 18 and 44, in good health, and agree to donate to any patients in need. Volunteers must also meet health guidelines, including restrictions on height and weight. I'll tell you, patients battling cancer are one of the largest users of blood products, according to the Organization of America's Blood Centers. Cancer patients receive 15% of red blood cells and 32% of platelets in the U.S. ABC notes that 1 in every 7 people entering a hospital will need blood. I had my life saved with a transfusion about 30 years ago when I had a devastating injury. And as we know, Susan's daughter just had a bone marrow transplant last week. I urge you to come. Again, room 216, Tuesday when we convene. It'll be from 9 till 3. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Chairman Nix for a morning order. Chairman Nix.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I've got some very special people visiting with me today, the Heard County Youth Leadership Academy in the gallery. Would you help me welcome them to their capital? Please stand. Thank you.
House will remain in order. We're going to honor some very distinguished guests we have with us today. Chair recognizes Chairman Sims for an invite resolution. Chairman Sims.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good morning, everyone. Today, I want you to realize that we are honoring Community Health Centers Day at the Capitol. This day is a special day for all of us. I'm pleased to have the leadership of the Georgia Association of Primary Health Care here on the floor with me. GAPHC is the member association for all of the community health centers in Georgia. Community health centers are one of the largest safety net providers for our primary care and an integral part of Georgia's health care delivery system. Community health centers began 36 years ago, partnering with the communities to bring health care in the areas that are medically underserved. Community health centers are nonprofit 501c organizations, and they're governed by a local board of directors. Currently, Georgia is proud to be the home of 32 community health center organizations, and they operate 154 clinical sites. Their ability to bring health care to areas of Georgia where such services have previously not been provided is unmatched by any other organization in this state. From the eastern part of Georgia to the northernmost part of Georgia to the overly populated areas of Atlanta and to the beautiful coast, patients have found a medical home and are provided with the highest quality and most compassionate health care by their highly trained clinicians. I want you to know that Medicaid dollars spent for patient care in community health centers helps the state in its budgetary constraints. Patients seen in community health centers result in saving chronic disease management and the reduction of unnecessary ER visits. Most importantly, the quality of life and health, the status that we all want Georgians to accomplish. Increasing access points for health care has been a laudable achievement of your 36 as a primary care organization in Georgia. Community health care centers are locally grown, serving over 350,000 Georgians each year. And at this time, I would like to invite Stephen Miracle. Now listen to that name. I think it's very appropriate because this group will make miracles happen throughout the state of Georgia. Please join me in recognizing community health centers today.
Mr. Speaker, members of the House, I wanted to thank you very, very much. I'm not sure I can live up to that introduction, but I want to thank you very much for the support that you have given to community health centers in this state. Just this year, with your support, we have grown by several additional health centers, such that we are now providing services to folks in 85 counties of the 159 in the state, through 153 separate locations. As an economic vehicle, we contribute or are responsible for up to $300 million a year in economic influence in the state of Georgia. And relative to Medicaid, we can document $135 million in savings on the Medicaid program. So we are very proud to provide services to residents of the state, and we very much appreciate your support of what we do. Thank you very much.
Stephen Miracle was much too modest to tell you that he runs one of the finest of these health centers in the state in Blue Ridge, where they just opened a new facility back in December that is a state-of-the-art health center. Chair recognizes Representative D. Dawkins Hagler for an invite resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to my colleagues here in the House. I am so excited today because I have the great honor to recognize and introduce to you all Miss Georgia Teen USA, Noelle Hewley. Look at her. Noelle is a senior at Arabia Mountain High School, where she also won the title of Miss Arabia High School, and she is getting ready to vie for Miss America Teen USA. She is a resident of DeKalb County. She lives down the street from me. She is the daughter of Miss Sabrina Graves, and not only is she beautiful, but this girl is brilliant. She is an honor roll student and a member of the Beta Club. She is on the soccer team, varsity cheerleading team, and she is just a dynamic, awesome young individual, and the world has not yet seen what this young lady is going to do. So I present to you Noelle Hewley, Miss Georgia Teen USA.
Good morning. I would like to thank Mr. Speaker and the Honorable Representative Dawkins Hagler for this wonderful opportunity. I am honored to stand before you and to serve as Miss Georgia Teen USA 2014. As Miss Georgia Teen, I am passionate about my service platform, which is to raise awareness among hazing and bullying in our schools. As a victim of both, I'd say I did not choose my platform, it chose me. In addition, I am also looking forward to the national pageant this summer in the Bahamas and bringing the crown home to Georgia. Once again, thank you for this amazing invitation, and may God bless each of you. Thank you. Thank you.
I overlooked, House will be in order. We're about to take up some business, and I overlooked a morning order, and the chair recognizes the chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Chairman England, for a morning order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good morning, everyone. Just want to encourage everyone, you've got the long weekend, take your budget books with you. I'm making a homework assignment. Take those with you, look through them, and primarily the amended budget, and kind of echoing something the speaker had already said a couple of different times in a couple presentations of other groups. But take those home, look at them. If you have concerns or things that give you pause in them, please give me a call, shoot me an email. I'll be up here most of the weekend working on it with our House budget staff. But please, by all means, you know, we've expedited the process, but we're not wanting to leave anyone out or anyone's concerns out. So please take those home with you. Look through them, look over them, and if you have concerns or comments, let us know. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
What purpose does Representative Coomer rise?
To make a motion.
State your motion.
I move to suspend Rule 48 so a bill can be read for the first time and assigned to committee.
Clerk will read the caption.
A bill to amend an act providing a supplement to the salary of the judge of the Superior Court of Cherokee Judicial Circuit.
On the motion of the gentleman that the rules of this House be temporarily suspended to allow a bill to be read for the first time and assigned to committee, is there objection? Chair hears none, and it is so ordered. Intergovernmental coordination. Chair recognizes the chairman of the House Ethics Committee for a motion. House will be in order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 310.
Clerk will read the caption.
A bill to amend Chapter 5 of Title 21 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to ethics in government so as to revise definitions, to provide for the method of filing certain disclosure reports, to provide for the method of notifying candidates of late fees due, to eliminate the grace period on certain reports, to provide for the notice of dissolution of a campaign or committee, to provide for related matters, to provide for an effective date, to repeal conflicting laws, and for other purposes.
Chair recognizes Chairman Wilkinson to explain the Senate substitute to House Bill 310.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Fellow members of the House, during last year's session, we passed House Bill 310, which was housekeeping, really had technical changes to our ethics laws as requested by the Georgia Government Transparency and Campaign Finance Commission. Those changes were eventually incorporated into House Bill 143, which was passed and signed into law with an effective date of January 1st, 2014. The Senate substitute version of House Bill 310, which you have before you, is being used as a vehicle to respond to a ruling last summer by U.S. District Court Judge Steve Jones in United States v. Georgia. The ruling held that Georgia was not providing an adequate amount of time for military personnel to return absentee ballots. The ruling requires at least 45 days of absentee balloting prior to a runoff of a primary or election in which a federal candidate was on the ballot. The ruling called for Georgia to hold its federal primary no later than the first week of June, or Tuesday, June 3. It did not call for the same requirement in local, state, and judiciary elections. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, we need to do all we can to make certain that Georgia's men and women in the military are able to participate fully in the electoral process. After all, they are defending that right for us, and many of them are doing it in harm's way. Never forget that. Now, I'm not going to spend time telling sea stories. Y'all have heard enough of them from me, but I have observed firsthand how difficult it can be to process mail on various ships and shore installations. I can't even imagine what it's like being in combat in the field in the Army, Marine Corps, and trying to accomplish this task. House Bill 310, as substituted by the Senate, is a thoughtful response to the U.S. District Court's ruling. It aligns the state and local election schedules with the mandated federal election schedule. Now, I know many of you have heard from back home from your county commissioners. Georgia does not need multiple election dates. The taxpayers' money should not go to election expenses that can and should be avoided. And we need to make absolutely certain that Georgians serving in the military have their votes counted. The proposed election schedule and some other changes follows. Qualifying will be from Monday, March 3rd until Friday, March 7th, 2014. That's 35 weeks before the general election. The general primary, including federal, meaning congressional, senators and congressmen and candidates, will be held May 20th, 2014 to accommodate the court's ruling of no later than June 3rd. If you think about June 3rd, you've got Memorial Day on May 26th, so it makes much more sense to have it before the Memorial Day holiday. The general primary runoff will be held on July 22nd, 2014 to accommodate the 45-day court requirement. Judicial elections will be the same 11 weeks before and will be held at the same time as our primaries. The general election will be held as required by existing law on Tuesday, November 4th, 2014. The general election runoff for state and county offices will be held on December 2nd, 2014, which is current Georgia law, 4 weeks. The general election runoff for federal offices will be held on January 6, 2015, again to accommodate the 45-day ruling, which does not call for that same requirement in local and state judiciary elections. In the event of a runoff for one of our state constitutional officers, a January 6 vote would allow for only a 6-day transition before the winner would take office. So we believe in keeping our runoffs, if necessary, to December 2nd. The substitute to House Bill 310 adds an additional candidate campaign finance report for March 31st during election years. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen of the House, I have chaired the House Ethics Committee for 10 years. I have been and I always will be committed to full, open, and immediate disclosure. The thought of 5 months with a primary in between, with no reports was totally unacceptable. We work for the people of the state of Georgia. They need to know what we're raising. They need to know what others are raising, the people who are going to be on the ballot. That is my commitment, full, open, and immediate disclosure. Secretary of State Brian Kemp joins me in this commitment. He is our Chief Elections Officer. He also urges the passage of House Bill 310 as substituted by the Senate so that Georgia has a uniform election calendar and thus 159 counties can avoid enormous physical costs. Mr. Speaker, I'll be glad to answer questions, but I think this is a very straightforward response to the U.S. District Court, and it's what is right for Georgians.
You have a question if you care to yield.
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes your neighbor, the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, Chairman Willard, for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To my friend and colleague in the well, isn't it true that there was some confusion dealing with the issue about when there will be a nonpartisan election, which is the election addressing judgeships this morning?
Yes, sir.
And isn't it true that we've clarified the fact that the election of nonpartisan positions occurs the same time we have the primary for partisan elections, which will be in May?
That is correct, Mr. Chairman.
And they will also have qualification of judicial officers occur in the same week that we have the other qualifications in March.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's correct.
And you have a letter on your desk that you distributed that explains the Attorney General's office has reviewed that and finds to be a proper setup date-wise, keeping in the plan that we currently have, which is the election, nonpartisan election judges, occurs with our primary.
You're correct, Mr. Chairman, and thank you.
Do you yield for further questions?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Representative Williams from the 119th to your right for a question. Oh, I'm sorry.
To your left.
Yes.
To my other right.
We have exceeded our quota of Williams in this body.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
To your left.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman well yield?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, is it not true that this date change bill had the possibility to negatively impact the ability of local governments to hold spliced elections in conjunction with the proposed May 20th primary?
That's correct.
Is it not further true that the language now incorporated into this bill on lines 398 through 401 alleviates this impediment and will allow local governments to more efficiently conduct spliced elections?
And that's correct, and I thank you for your help on that.
Thank you.
You have no further questions.
Mr. Speaker, I yield the well.
Gentleman has yielded the well. On the gentleman's motion that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 310, all those in favor of the motion will vote aye, those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines.
Not going to ring the bell?
Have all members voted? Have all members voted? If so, the clerk will lock the machine. On the gentleman's motion, the ayes are 159, the nays are 1, and this House has agreed to the Senate substitute to House Bill 310. Clerk will read the caption to a group of privileged resolutions. The clerk will read.
Recognizing and commending Krista Downing, Chattahoochee County's 2013 Middle School Teacher of the Year. recognizing and commending Mr. James McManus, Chattahoochee County's Education Center and Chattahoochee County School District's 2013 Teacher of the Year, recognizing and commending Max Cummins on achieving the rank of Eagle Scout, recognizing and commending Niles Eric Danielson, recognizing and commending the Adairsville JROTC Female Raider Team as the 2013 Raider National Champions, honoring the life and memory of Mrs. Renee Wilder, honoring the life and memory of Melvin Robinson, recognizing and commending Homer Lee Wallace, recognizing and commending Sam Milam, recognizing and commending Reed Michael. The following is an invitation resolution is to be referred to the Committee on Rules, recognizing and commending the Seminoles of Creekside High School and inviting them to be recognized by the House of Representatives and for other purposes.
Is there objection to the adoption of the privilege resolutions? The chair hears none, and the resolutions are adopted. If you have an announcement, please make your way to the front of the chamber. If you have an announcement. Chair recognizes the governor's floor leader, Representative Riley, for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Colleagues, the Georgia Department of Revenue has released the Forest Land Protection Act grant reimbursement list for the counties and local governments. If you're interested into finding out the actual dollar amount of the grants for your county or your local school district, you're welcome to come visit Representative Coomer, Representative Nimmer, or myself. We'll be happy to give you that information. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes Representative Buddy Harden for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Resource Management Committee, Subcommittee of the Natural Resource and Environment Committee will meet Tuesday when we return at 2 o'clock in room 606 CLOB.
All right, we're not going to be here over the weekend. Chairman England wanted us to be in session Saturday, and I told him I needed to go back home, make a speech or something. So we're going to recognize some birthdays a little in advance. On Saturday, Representative Hugh Floyd will be celebrating a birthday. Representative Floyd, an early happy birthday to you. And on Monday, Representative Gerald Green, an early happy birthday to Representative Gerald Green. Chair recognizes the majority leader for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House now adjourn until Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. Let me repeat the time because that's a different time for us. Tuesday is going to be a day after a holiday, and I understand a good many of our appropriations committees want a chance to meet that morning before session as well. So we're going to come back at 11 a.m. Tuesday, the 21st day of January, 2014.
On the motion of the majority leader that this House adjourn until Tuesday, January 21 at 11 o'clock a.m. All those in favor of the motion will say aye. Those opposed will say no. The ayes have it. This House is adjourned until Tuesday, January 21st at 11 a.m.